Hello, my name is John Dentino.
And mine is John MacKenzie. As you saw in the titles, we were lucky enough to win first prizes in the Kodak Teenage Movie Awards.
By a coincidence, although this is a nationwide contest, we both live in Stockton, California. But Stockton's a pretty big place, and neither of us knew the other was making a film.
Today, we want to tell you something about the Teenage Awards and show some scenes from films that won prizes and honorable mentions. A little later, we'll make a pitch about getting into the contest. But right now, let's get down to business. The contest is divided into two categories.
Junior, which takes in ages 12 to 15.
And senior, ages 16 through 19.
We've taken several very short sequences out of the junior category entries to give you an idea of the range of subjects and some of the ways each filmmaker approached his work. The first one is called Sammy the Sinner. It was made by Rob Mortarati of Orinda, California. Sammy, as you see, is a real bad guy. Not only knocks off the man who gave him a lift, but disintegrates him and is con. That's a church Sammy's entering and exiting. Being a first-class sinner, Sammy turns the church into lava. How's that for a film trick? Entirely different in style and objective is this study by a young Cuban boy, George Campos of Buffalo, New York.
From the beginnings of times, the earliest men worshipped the sun as a god. By the radiation of its light and heat, the sun furnishes, directly or indirectly, all of the energy supporting life on Earth, because all foods and fuels are derived ultimately from plants using the energy of sunlight. A god, it isn't, but truly it is our source of life.
This one's a film adaptation of a Sherlock Holmes story.
No, for you, Jake. But the name's Watson. James Watson. Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes' friend? The very one. All right. Keep your shirt on, Governor. I've got to write my own opinion. It's my opinion, Mr. Sherlock Holmes is nothing but a herring gut. An old herring gut. That'll be enough. A herring gut. An old herring gut. Ow! Right me nose. All right, Watson, call it Holmes.
That Holmes is a sly one. The title of this picture is Sherlock Holmes and the Musgrave Ritual. Uncut, the film runs 42 minutes and is only one of several Sherlock Holmes movies produced by Mark Shepard of Encino, California. And to quell a fiend by Tom Daphnides of Sunset Hills, Missouri, we have another evil villain with a bag full of nasty tricks. In the duel, this is the bad guy, and this is the hero. The bad guy first shoots rockets out of his fingers, then enlarges himself to 10 times normal size. That's a neat bit of camera work. Our hero's in trouble. Bricks look like pebbles, and the giant fingers quickly clobber him. Back to normal size, the fiend trains his deadly ray on a U.S. rocket. But our hero's not finished yet. He still has a magic capsule. Holy Teenage Awards, that is a magic capsule. As with most films, virtue is triumphant in the end. That was just a small sampling of the many fine films submitted in last year's junior category. We wish we had time to show you more.
And now let me introduce your first prize winner, The Trip. This is a frightening account of a teenager who takes LSD. The judges were unanimous in awarding it first prize, in part because of the remarkably effective way in which John obtained his unusual visual effects by intercutting black and white, tinted and color film. but more importantly, because of the thorough, accurate way in which he covered his subject. Are you sure you didn't try LSD?
No, I did all my research in magazines and books.
With that, here's John Dentino's prize winner, The Trip.
Mom and Dad weren't home, so I decided to try it. I knew they wouldn't get back before it was over, so I didn't have too many worries. I was a little scared, though. I knew right where it was, in the refrigerator, in that little piece of tin foil. As I look back on that day, it seems like it was awful short. But I can't be sure. I was anxious to open it. I then felt like I was not scared at all. In fact, I laughed. I laughed because I was finally doing it. Kids at school said it was great. Yeah. So I decided to go into the living room and wait it out. I'd wait for it there, and it'd be about a half an hour, I guess. Maybe more, maybe less. As I sat there, it suddenly dawned on me that I could be making a big mistake, but I wasn't sure. Then a feeling came over me, and I knew it was coming. The whole room collapsed and turned pink. Everything went out of focus on me. It was unbelievable. The colors suddenly became livelier than ever. All the colors in the room were magnified 1,000 times. The walls were wavering back and forth. Everything was just brilliant. It almost blinded me. I suddenly found myself in a beautiful garden. I could hardly believe that it was there. And I was in the middle of it. This enchanting garden with flowers and trees wavering in the wind. Vibrant colors all over. It was a strange world. It was as if I was in the middle of it, and that was the only thing that mattered. I was there, seeing nature as a whole. The flowers and trees seemed in a different perspective than they'd ever been. But I felt that this was the way I was supposed to see flowers and trees. This was the way I was supposed to see them. And then a funny thing happened. All the flowers and all the trees blended into one beautiful showcase. Everything changed all of a sudden. In my mind were suddenly fears. My heart pounded faster than ever. My pulse went up. I was thinking terrible things. I was afraid of something. I didn't know what it was. Suddenly, anxieties and fears from my past childhood came at me all at once. I was going mad almost. I could hardly stand it. It was something terrible, horrible, disgusting. It was there. It was going to kill me. I wouldn't let it. I screamed. I tried to get out of it, the pit that I was in, but I couldn't even lift myself. I was getting tired. I had to rest, but I couldn't shut out the awful sound and the weird shapes that were in my mind. There were faces coming at me from all directions. Everything in the room suddenly turned into horrible faces, and I was afraid. I wish I never took it then. I saw myself in a fire. I was burning up inside. My flesh was being singed. Then Then it started to let up finally. I said, thank God, suddenly it's letting up a little bit. But I could still feel the pain. I felt bad about everything. Regret. Then I almost collapsed with disgust because there were fungular growths on my hands and I was deformed. My own body. My body deformed. Oh, I can't go through that again. Never. My own conscience was telling me that I should never have taken it. Oh, why did I? Terrible, my hands deformed like this. Feelings of fear. I then saw myself under the wheels of a car. My dead, cold body there. I saw my own body without the soul under the car wheels. My conscience was afraid. I was afraid. And yet I found myself dead under the wheels of a car. I couldn't stand it. The horror. I was dizzy. Suddenly felt dizzy. Could hardly get around. In my mind, I was going through something. Felt funny. My head was so dizzy. Oh, did I deserve this? Oh my God, do I deserve this? I asked myself why. Do I deserve it? Oh, no more. Then I fell, and that's all I can remember.
Now you can see why it won, hands down. And that part you saw is only about half of the entire film. How come you happened to choose LSD as a subject?
Well, I'd tried other subjects, but I wanted to make a film on a new and controversial idea.
Now let's have a look at some of the senior category entries. The first one is an unusual montage of patterns put together by Dennis Lang and Harvey Ettinger of St. Paul. They attribute their inspiration to the new wave of films from abroad. It took a lot of film, a lot of thought, and many offbeat subjects to achieve these strange and fascinating patterns. Glenn Prysborski of Rockledge, Florida, womped up an engaging yarn from which we've picked out enough highlights to summarize the story. A pair of boys, while reading Mark Twain, were struck with a bright idea. But I guess it needs a little more work. With the raft rebuilt, comes the day when they're ready for sea, or at least for the Indian River. With sister to wave goodbye, off go the mariners. But in short order, there's big trouble. The boys have lost their paddle. Best thing to do now is dip into the survival rations which Sis has fixed. She's no dummy. She packed a walkie-talkie in with the sandwiches. And within a couple of minutes, rescue was on the way. Does this harsh experience stop our intrepid adventurers? Not by half. Here's an excerpt from Jeff Gribbett's intriguing animated production, 4D. These original and unique figures are molded in clay. This one's the hero. To get this motion, Jeff has to shoot one frame of picture, mold the clay or move the figure very slightly, then shoot another frame. With as many as 24 moves for just 1 second of film, Jeff, who lives in Exeter, New Hampshire, worked over 300 hours on this movie. Watch out, he's a mean one. But a kick in the slats will straighten him out. He's cool. You did this? I did that. Good boy. Whoops. In this film, Lindell McDaniel takes a critical look at his hometown, Hannibal, Missouri.
The old steamboat riverfront was destroyed simply because some of our wealthier citizens wanted to park their boats closer to home. This big city stoplight complex is never given the same signal twice. And for some reason, nobody seems to know, we have an airport. Some of our more idealistic citizens would like to see parts of Hannibal restored as Colonial Williamsburg was restored. But few people in Hannibal have the money to finance such an undertaking. Those who do have the money...
Lindell used his camera to produce a social documentary in which he presents the argument that Hannibal, as the birthplace of Mark Twain, may not be taking proper advantage of its tourist possibilities.